We seek control in a world that offers none. We measure our bodies, hoping the numbers will build a fortress against time. But what if the fortress is a cage, and the numbers are the bars? What if true health is not found in a machine's report, but in the quiet wisdom we have been taught to ignore? 99% will miss the ending of this conversation. They will seek a simple list, a quick answer, and remain trapped in the cycle of anxiety that modern health has become. The cost of leaving now is to never learn how to listen to your own body again, to spend your remaining years fearing the very life you are trying to preserve. For the few who stay, a different understanding awaits. Not a longer life, perhaps, but a deeper one. Empty vessel. We have come to see ourselves as empty vessels. This is the great illusion of our time. We believe we are born into this world as a collection of parts, a machine of flesh and bone that must be constantly checked, managed, and corrected by an external force, by an external intelligence. We are told that we do not know what is happening inside of us, that we are blind to our own inner workings. So we seek out those who can look inside for us. We offer our arms for needles. We lie still in humming and clicking machines, and we wait for a verdict. We wait for a piece of paper with numbers and charts to tell us the story of ourselves. This piece of paper, we are told, is the truth. It is the objective reality of our condition, and we have become addicted to this external validation. We crave the reassurance of a normal result, and we dread the deviation that signals a problem. This entire framework is built on a foundation of fear. It presumes that the body is an unruly thing, prone to error and decay, and that our consciousness, our awareness, is separate from it, a helpless passenger in a faulty vehicle. This belief system turns the process of living, especially of aging, into a problem to be solved. Every new sensation, every change in our energy, every line that appears on our skin becomes a potential symptom, a warning sign that must be investigated. We have lost the trust in the inherent intelligence of the body, the same intelligence that knew how to grow from a single cell into a complex being, the intelligence that knows how to heal a cut, to fight an infection, to find balance without our conscious intervention. We treat the body like a foolish child that cannot be trusted, and so we seek a constant stream of reports from the experts and their machines. This creates a state of perpetual anxiety. We are no longer living in our bodies. We are monitoring them. We are standing outside, looking in with suspicion. The vessel is not empty. It is filled with a wisdom that is millions of years old. The emptiness is the space we have created between our awareness and our physical self, a space we have filled with noise, with data, with the opinions of others, and with a deep corrosive fear of the unknown. The great cost of this perspective is that it disconnects us from our own intuition. Intuition is the quiet language of the body. It is the subtle feeling of rightness or wrongness. It is the sense of deep fatigue that tells you to rest, not the number on a sleep tracker. It is the feeling of lightness and energy after a certain meal that tells you it is good for you, not the calorie count on an app. When we outsource our sense of well-being to external metrics, we stop listening to this subtle language. Our inner ear becomes deafened by the loud shouting of the numbers. We might have a report that says all our levels are perfect, and yet we feel a deep sense of unease, of being unwell. And because the paper says we are fine, we learn to distrust our own feelings. We tell ourselves, it must be in my head. But the head and the body are not separate. The unease is real. It is the body's way of speaking, and we have forgotten how to translate. The journey to true health, especially in the later chapters of life, is not about gathering more external data. It is about closing the gap, about returning our awareness to the vessel and learning to listen again, to trust again. This mindset is not an accident. It is the natural outcome of a world that worships data. We are told that what cannot be measured does not exist. So we measure everything. We measure our productivity, our social impact, our happiness, and most of all, our health. This creates a very narrow definition of a good life. A good life becomes a life that looks good on paper, but a human being is not a spreadsheet. The richness of our experience, our resilience, our capacity for joy and peace, these things cannot be quantified. By focusing only on the measurable, we neglect the immeasurable, which is where true quality of life resides. After the age of 70, the body will naturally change. The numbers on the reports will shift. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of life, of a journey that has been lived. To see these changes as problems is to see life itself as a problem. The alternative is to see these changes as a natural unfolding, a new landscape that requires a different way of navigating. It requires less frantic mapping and more quiet observation. It requires us to finally accept that we are not a machine to be fixed, but a living, breathing process to be experienced. One of the most corrosive checkups we submit ourselves to, particularly as we age, is not a specific medical test, but a mindset, the checkup of future fear. This is the practice of constantly scanning the horizon of our own future for potential threats. We are encouraged to screen for diseases we do not have, to look for markers of problems that may never arise, to live in a state of preemptive worry. The intention behind this may seem wise, to catch something early, but the spiritual and emotional cost is immense. It forces us to live in a reality that has not happened. We sacrifice the peace of today for the potential security of a tomorrow that is never guaranteed. This is like spending all your time in a house, checking for cracks in the foundation, for leaks in the roof, for weaknesses in the walls, to the point where you never actually live in the house. You never sit by the window and watch the sunset. You never enjoy the warmth of the fire. You are so busy trying to prevent the house from falling down that you never experience the joy of it standing. This constant search for what might go wrong is a form of shadow chasing. Imagine you are in a room lit by a single candle. Your body casts a shadow on the wall. You can become obsessed with this shadow. You can analyze its shape, its size, its darkness. You can fear that it might grow, that it might become monstrous. You can spend all your energy trying to control the shadow, to make it smaller, to make it go away. But the shadow is not the reality. The reality is you and the candle and the wall. The shadow is just a consequence. It has no substance. To fight the shadow is a fool's errand. The only way to change the shadow is to move your body, to change your relationship with the light. In the same way, constantly screening for future illness is a form of shadow chasing. The fear of the potential disease becomes the actual disease of the present moment. It is a shadow that darkens our days, that fills our minds with what-ifs. And the more we focus on it, the larger and more terrifying it seems. The wisdom of age is meant to be a release from this kind of fear. It is an understanding that we cannot control everything, that life has its own flow, its own rhythm. To resist this flow is to create immense suffering. When we are young, we believe we can build dams and redirect the river of life. We have the energy for it. But as we get older, we are meant to learn the wisdom of the riverbank, to understand that the river will go where it will, and our task is to find a peaceful place to sit and observe its passage. The checkup of future fear denies us this peace. It tells us we must keep building the dam even as our strength wanes. It tells us that peace is irresponsible, that vigilance is the only virtue. This is a cruel trick to play on the mind. It replaces the possibility of a serene later life with a state of high alert, a constant low-level panic that depletes our vital energy far more than any slow natural decline. The harm is not in the potential discovery of a problem, but in the corrosive effect of the search itself. Consider the quality of your awareness. When your mind is constantly occupied with searching for signs of sickness, it cannot be present for signs of health. It cannot appreciate the feeling of the sun on your skin, the taste of fresh water, the comfort of a deep breath, the joy of a conversation with a loved one. Your awareness becomes a guard on a watchtower, scanning for enemies. But a life lived on a watchtower is a life of exile. You are exiled from the present moment, from the simple, tangible realities of your own existence. The great paradox is that this state of stressful vigilance is, in itself, profoundly unhealthy. It floods the body with stress hormones, it tenses the muscles, it disrupts sleep and digestion. The very act of looking for sickness can create the conditions for sickness to arise. We are trying to protect our health by engaging in a practice that fundamentally undermines our sense of well-being. The alternative is not neglect. It is not ignorance. It is a shift in focus. It is the practice of cultivating health rather than hunting for disease. It is trusting that the body has its own signaling system and that if a problem becomes real, it will make itself known. Until then, our task is to live, not to wait for a diagnosis. There is a new form of ritual that has become very common in the modern world, a ritual that many perform with more devotion than any ancient tradition. It is the practice of constant measurement. We carry with us these small, elegant objects, these windows of glass and metal, and they tell us the story of our own bodies in a language of numbers. How many steps have we taken from our door and back again? How many hours did our mind truly rest in the darkness of the night? We are given a score for our sleep, a grade for our activity, a number for our very vitality. We wrap a cuff around our arm and wait for a machine to tell us the pressure within our own veins. We prick our finger and ask a small device to judge the sweetness of our blood. This is seen as a path to knowledge, a way to gain control over the unpredictable nature of our own biology. We believe that with enough data, we can optimize ourselves. We can manage the process of living as if it were a business. We can find the flaws in the system and correct them. But we must ask a very simple question. What is the effect of this constant stream of numbers on our inner state? What does it do to our peace of mind? The number was meant to bring us clarity, but instead, it often brings a cloud. It becomes a new master. We wake up in the morning, and before we even ask our own body, how do I feel? We look at a screen. The screen gives us a sleep score. If the number is high, we give ourselves permission to feel rested. If the number is low, we begin our day with a story of failure. I did not sleep well. Today will be a difficult day. The number has dictated our reality before we have even had a chance to experience it for ourselves. We may have felt perfectly fine upon waking, but the low number introduces a seed of doubt, a subtle anxiety that colors the rest of the day. The measurement has not served us. We have become servants to the measurement. This is not knowledge. It is noise. It is a constant humming distraction from the direct experience of being alive. This obsession with numbers represents a profound distrust of the felt sense. The felt sense is the body's native language. It is the subtle, holistic awareness of our own state. It is not a number, it is a quality. It is the feeling of vibrancy, of sluggishness, of calm, of agitation. This felt sense is incredibly intelligent. It synthesizes millions of bits of information in an instant. Our hormonal state, our muscular tension, our digestive process, our emotional state, and presents it to our awareness as a single, unified feeling. A number, on the other hand, is a single data point, isolated from its context. A blood pressure reading, for example, tells you nothing about why it is at that level. Were you rushing? Were you anxious about the measurement itself? Did you just have a stimulating conversation? The number alone is a piece of dead information. The felt sense is living information. By elevating the number above the feeling, we are choosing a distorted, simplistic picture of reality over a rich, complex, and accurate one. We are learning to value the map over the territory. As we move past the age of 70, this becomes even more critical. The body's parameters will naturally change. They will not conform to the ideal numbers established for a 30-year-old. To continue to judge an aging body by the standards of youth is a recipe for constant failure and anxiety. It is like judging a mighty old oak tree for not being a flexible young sapling. The oak's strength is in its sturdiness, its deep roots, its gnarled bark that tells the story of 100 seasons. It is not a failure for not being a sapling. It is a success at being an oak. An older body has its own wisdom, its own balance. The numbers will reflect this. To see this natural shift as a problem to be corrected is to be at war with time itself. It is a war that can never be won. The checkup of constant measurement is the daily battle in this war. Each time we look at a number and feel fear or disappointment, we are fighting this war. The alternative is to let go of the numbers as the primary source of truth, to use them perhaps as a single tool among many, but to return the ultimate authority to the felt sense, to the deep, quiet wisdom of the body that knows its own story. Mirror maze. A particularly subtle and painful checkup we impose on ourselves is the checkup of external comparison. This is not performed in a clinic or with a machine. It is performed in the mind every time we look at another person and measure our own aging process against theirs. We see a contemporary who seems more vibrant, who has fewer lines, who moves with greater ease, and we feel a sting of inadequacy. We read an article about a super-ager who runs marathons at 80, and we look at our own quiet life and feel we are somehow failing. We are constantly holding up a mirror that reflects not our own face, but the face of another, and we find ourselves wanting. This creates a maze of mirrors, a hall of endless comparisons where we can quickly lose sight of our own unique, authentic path. We are no longer walking our own journey. We are trying to run in someone else's race, a race for which we are not equipped and which has a finish line that is not our own. This habit of comparison is rooted in the belief that there is a correct way to age. It presumes a single linear standard of success, but there is no correct way to age, just as there is no correct way for a tree to grow. One tree grows tall and straight, reaching for the sun. Another grows gnarled and twisted by the wind, its beauty found in its resilience. A third grows low to the ground, spreading its branches wide. All are perfect expressions of treeness. None is a failure. To judge the twisted tree by the standard of the straight tree is to misunderstand the nature of life. Each of us is a unique combination of genetics, experiences, challenges, and choices. Our journey of aging will be uniquely our own. To compare it to another's is a form of violence against our own reality. It invalidates our own story. It whispers to us that our life, our body, our journey is not good enough. This whisper, repeated daily, becomes a roar that can drown out any sense of inner peace or self-acceptance. The danger of this mirror maze is that it pulls our energy outward. Our focus is constantly on the external, what others are doing, how we measure up, what society values. This is a tremendous drain on our vital force. The energy that could be used for inner cultivation, for finding peace, for enjoying the present moment, is instead squandered on the useless and painful activity of comparison. It is like having a leak in a container of precious water. No matter how much you try to fill it, the water of your contentment and peace keeps draining away. The only way to stop the leak is to seal it from within. This means making a conscious choice to withdraw your energy from the external game of comparison and to reinvest it in your own inner world. It requires the discipline to catch yourself when your mind starts to measure itself against another, and to gently guide your attention back to your own breath, your own body, your own path. The only valid comparison is the one we make with ourselves. Am I a little more peaceful today than I was yesterday? Have I been a little kinder to my body today than I was last week? Have I found a moment of stillness that I did not have before? This is a useful form of measurement. It is a private, gentle, and encouraging practice. It acknowledges our own starting point and honors our own small steps of progress. It is a comparison that builds us up rather than tears us down. After 70, the world will present you with endless opportunities for negative comparison. The culture is obsessed with youth, with fighting aging, with presenting an image of effortless perfection. To engage with this is to volunteer for suffering. The true path of wisdom is to respectfully decline the invitation. It is to break the mirrors. It is to understand that your journey is sacred and unique, and that its value cannot be measured by any external yardstick. The goal is not to be a better version of someone else, but to be the most authentic version of yourself. Gentle current. The fourth checkup that can cause more harm than good is the belief in aggressive intervention. Our modern approach to health, and particularly to aging, is framed in the language of warfare. We are told to fight aging, to battle wrinkles, to combat disease, to attack any sign of decline. The underlying assumption is that the body is an adversary and that any change is an enemy incursion that must be met with force. This leads to a preference for aggressive, overwhelming treatments and interventions. If there is a problem, the instinct is to cut it out, to poison it, to bombard it with powerful forces. While there are certainly times when such measures are necessary and life-saving, the default mindset of aggression can be deeply harmful, especially when applied to the natural, gradual process of aging. It creates a state of internal conflict and depletes the very energy we need for healing and balance. There is another way. It is the way of the gentle current. Imagine a great river flowing towards the sea. Along its path, there are large rocks, ancient boulders. A foolish approach would be to try to smash the rocks, to destroy them with explosives. This would require immense energy, it would cause great turmoil in the water, and it would ultimately be futile, as the rock is strong and deeply rooted. A wise river does not do this. It yields. It flows around the rock. It softens its own edges, it adapts its course, and it continues on its journey without losing its momentum or its essence. The rock remains, but it is no longer an obstacle. It has become part of the landscape of the river. This is the wisdom of gentle adaptation. It is the understanding that not every problem needs to be attacked. Sometimes the wisest course of action is to yield, to adapt, to flow around the challenge. This is not weakness, it is a form of profound intelligence and strength. This mindset directly challenges the final harmful checkup, the checkup of lost intuition. When we adopt a warlike stance against our own bodies, we silence the body's own attempts to communicate and heal. We see its signals not as valuable information, but as enemy flags to be eliminated. If we have pain, the immediate goal is to silence it with a powerful pill, rather than to listen to what the pain might be telling us about our posture, our movement, or our stress levels. If we have a minor ailment, we seek a powerful intervention to wipe it out, rather than asking what imbalance in our life, in our diet, our rest, our emotional state, might be creating the conditions for this ailment to appear. Aggressive intervention is a way of shouting over the body's quiet voice. In time, the body stops speaking, because it learns that no one is listening. This is the tragedy of lost intuition. We become disconnected from the most powerful diagnostic tool we possess, our own sensitive, intelligent organism. To cultivate the way of the gentle current is to shift from a mindset of fighting to a mindset of listening and supporting. It is to ask, what does my body need to find its own balance again? Rather than, what force can I use to eradicate this symptom? This might mean choosing gentler forms of movement that support the joints rather than punishing them. It might mean choosing foods that are easy to digest and that nourish the body rather than overwhelming it. It might mean prioritizing rest and stillness as powerful forms of medicine. It means seeing symptoms not as enemies, but as messengers. What is this fatigue telling me? What is this stiffness trying to say? It is a practice of profound respect for the life force within you. After 70, the body's resources are more precious. To waste them on an internal war is a great folly. The path to well-being in these years is not through battle, but through peacemaking. It is about making peace with the changes that come, listening deeply to the body's needs, and using our wisdom to create the conditions for harmony, not for war. This is the gentle strength that sustains life. Inner stillness. So we arrive at the center, at the heart of the matter. We have spoken of letting go of the shadows of the future, the noise of measurement, the maze of comparison, and the battle of aggressive intervention. But letting go is only half of the practice. The other half is what we choose to hold on to. What then is the one checkup that is not only safe but essential, especially in the later chapters of our lives? It is the checkup of inner stillness. This is the most ancient, the most profound, and the most neglected form of self-knowledge available to us. It requires no machine, no appointment, no piece of paper. It requires only that you give yourself a few moments of your own time, that you grant yourself the gift of your own undivided attention. It is the practice of sitting quietly, of closing the eyes, and of turning your awareness inward. In the quiet space of inner stillness, The noise of the world begins to fade. The demands, the opinions, the fears, the endless stream of data, all of it recedes. At first, the mind will be loud. It will bring up worries, plans, memories. This is normal. The mind is like a restless animal accustomed to constant movement. The practice is not to fight the mind, but to simply observe it, to let the thoughts rise and fall like waves on the surface of the ocean. Do not cling to them, do not push them away, simply watch. And as you watch, you begin to notice the space between the thoughts. You begin to sense the deep, quiet ocean beneath the turbulent waves. This is the field of pure awareness. This is the core of your being. This is the place of profound peace that is always available to you beneath the surface of your mental activity. This is the ultimate checkup, because from this place of stillness, you can feel the true state of your own system. From this stillness, you begin to hear the language of the body again, not as a set of problems to be solved, but as a living presence. You can feel the rhythm of your own breath, the steady beat of your own heart. You can feel the areas of tension and the areas of ease. You are not judging, you are not analyzing, you are simply listening with a kind of compassionate attention. This is the highest form of self-care. In this state, the body's own intelligence can function optimally. The healing mechanisms, the balancing systems, they all work best when the mind is quiet and the body is free from the constant agitation of stress and fear. You are creating the inner conditions for health to flourish, not by doing, but by being. You are checking in with the source of your life, not just its external manifestations. This practice costs nothing, and it gives everything. It returns to you the sense of wholeness that was taken away by the fragmented, data-driven view of yourself. This is the ultimate reversal of the empty vessel illusion. You discover that you are not empty at all. You are filled with a profound stillness, a deep well of peace. This stillness is your true nature. The anxieties, the fears, the pains, they are like clouds passing through the vast, unchanging sky of your awareness. By checking in with the sky, you learn not to be so troubled by the clouds. This is the gift of aging. It is the invitation to stop focusing on the clouds and to finally rest in the sky. This practice of inner stillness is the foundation for a life of quality, regardless of its quantity. It brings a form of health that no machine can measure, the health of a quiet mind. It brings a strength that no physical test can quantify, the strength of a spirit that is at peace with itself. To live from this place is to solve the problem of fear, not by eliminating death, but by fully embracing life, moment by moment, breath by breath, in the serene and silent sanctuary of your own being. This is the only checkup you will ever truly need. But some YouTube comment, which one of these mental checkups have you felt the pressure to perform on yourself the most? The comparison to others or the constant worry about the future? Sharing your experience might help someone else feel less alone on their path.